Welcome to your 11 on 11 weekend wrap up here on THV 11 Plus. I'm Ashley King. We start with a big discussion this week in Little Rock. We now know for sure a quiet stretch of land is being looked at for building a massive Google data center. The filings indicate the center will require a huge amount of power. THV 11's Carter Thweet explains the process for Google's application.
Well, this rural area in southeast Little Rock may not look like much, but there's a good chance that soon it'll be home to a Google data center using about as much power as all the households in Little Rock combined.
We've got to look at what needs to be compensated and mitigated for that application to go through.
Jay Townsend with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers says it's up to them to look at all factors when evaluating Google's data center application, including environmental concerns, cultural significance of the land, navigational concerns, and more.
The goal is really not to get to denial. The goal is to try to work towards a yes and find a way, not to slow down the production.
The proposed data center site is near the Sweet Home community off Harper Road. Over at the Little Rock Regional Chamber, CEO Jay Cheshire says he's eager for Google to get started.
We're really pleased that Google has announced that they're the ones that have actually purchased the property.
A public notice from the Army Corps outlines project details. The plan calls for 7 buildings using 100 megawatts of power, roughly the amount needed to power every home in Little Rock.
When you look at the new tax dollars, when you look at the new jobs, when you look at the new opportunities that this is going to provide for us to even attract other companies to the area, we believe this is going to be a really big win-win for everyone.
The Army Corps says its review will continue for a while, and the public can comment on the project through May 1st. In Little Rock, Carter Thweet, THV 11 News.
The Little Rock Animal Village is warning of scam attempts targeting pet owners. Officials say people are posing as shelter employees, asking for large upfront payments to recover lost pets. The shelter says that is not how they operate, and if your pet is found, you'll only pay fees in person, never through apps like Cash App, Venmo, or Zelle. If you get one of these calls, report it to the Little Rock Police. And an Arkansas judge has thrown out a lawsuit challenging an election recount. The court case has been the fastest event in a now 5-week-long effort to get a Republican nominee for Secretary of State. Brian Norris and his lawyer filed suit last Thursday, accusing election officials in Saline County of mishandling ballots during their recount on Tuesday. Norris called for recounts in 6 counties after losing the runoff to State Senator Kim Hammer by less than 1,000 votes. But a few hours later, the judge assigned to the case quickly dismissed it for several reasons and criticized Norris's attorney along the way. As for the recounts, the current Secretary of State, Cole Jester, touted the results.
I was really pleased to see that in 6 counties, we hand counted over 26,000 votes. And how many votes changed? 0. Not many states can do that, and it's because in Arkansas, we have the best system in the country to make sure every vote is counted accurately.
Jester endorsed Hammer in the race to replace him. As for the lawsuit, the judge pointed to other ways Norris could appeal, though he questioned whether they would be successful. Lawmakers are now back in Little Rock, ready to set the state's budget for the next fiscal year. And Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders used the opening of the fiscal session to deliver a State of the State address. She praised the Republican-dominated legislature for helping her pass her priorities so far and outlined her goals for her $6.8 billion budget proposal. Education remains her top priority, while asking for more than $300 million to fully fund school vouchers. In her speech, she credited the law that created those accounts, the LEARNS Act, for improving reading scores across the state.
LEARNS wasn't just about investing in education freedom. It was also the largest investment in public schools in Arkansas history.
Senator Fred Love gave the Democratic Party response to the governor's speech as he campaigns to replace Sanders in November. He repeated criticism of the private school voucher program for potentially diverting money from public schools.
While we have the bulk of our children, 95%, that are still in public education, we need those funds to actually make every child's education work in Arkansas. Not just a few.
Democratic leaders are hoping to work with a handful of GOP members who have signaled plans to place limits on the voucher program. This weekend, economists will be looking to see how much the price of gas and diesel is skewing inflation numbers. Our Maya Ellison talks to some of those experts and others on the economic front lines to see what they're feeling.
Diesel fuel's gone up more like 45%, so we've seen even more disruption in that market than we have in the market for gasoline.
UA Little Rock chief economist Dr. Michael Packo says it's not just your average drivers feeling the punch of high gas prices. Much of what drives the economy runs on diesel.
The diesel fuel is what brings the trucks into the grocery store with the goods in the first place.
Whether it's for transportation or recreation, Arkansans are already feeling the impacts.
The prices have gone up dramatically since the war in Iran has begun. People just aren't going to be able to afford to purchase as much diesel as they were in the past.
Jim Jackson with the Rockwater Marina says fewer boats are filling up, and some are even cutting trips short.
We've noticed that there are not nearly as many calls. People are pulled their boats over and they've stopped these trips, and they are just waiting until something happens.
Large vessels like houseboats and barges rely heavily on diesel, and those rising costs can add up quickly. Filling up a single vessel can cost hundreds of dollars. Everyone could end up paying the bill.
It's going to have a dramatic effect on the cost of shipping. It's got to have a tremendous effect on their cost of transportation of goods, and that's going to have to be paid, passed along to the consumer.
And it's not just businesses. Public services are feeling it too.
So as we make budgets every year, knowing that fuel, both unleaded and diesel, fluctuate, we do project those numbers so we always have an ample supply of fuel for the city's assets.
Because Walter Ederle is Little Rock's senior fleet manager. He and his team say the city is already planning ahead.
We make sure we put in, all proper vehicles that can, idle less and burn less fuel to help with the budget.
They're even investing in more fuel-efficient vehicles and electric options. As for when prices could go back down, Dr. Packo says it's a waiting game.
So we really don't have any history to base our forecasts on what is going to happen. But the administration basically said that they expect fuel prices to remain in the neighborhood of where they are through the end of this month.
In Little Rock, Maya Ellison, THV 11 News.
Maya, thank you. In addition to his economics job, Packo is the Libertarian Party nominee for Secretary of State this November. No need to adjust your calendar, but here we are in early spring, and we're already talking about the Marine Corps organization Toys for Tots effort. Most of us know about the annual campaign to give kids in need toys during the holidays, but unlike Santa, these heroes have other projects during the rest of the year. Here's Rolly Hoyt with this month's Saluting Heroes.
That is one of our new slogans, a year-round force for good now.
We know how forceful the combination of Marines and bikers can be in December. That's when Toys for Tots chapters everywhere take in gifts. In Little Rock, often with the help of burly bikers. But right now, as spring has sprung, bins for toys become bins for books.
A literacy campaign is designed to provide books and other educational materials for youth 0 through 18.
Matthew Yarnell is the coordinator for Cleveland, Dallas, Jefferson, and Lincoln counties.
We partner with Title I schools throughout the country. In 2025, we donated 2.8 million books, and since its inception in 2008, 63 million books.
We caught up with Yarnell right in the middle of this year's drive, dropping off books to the Boys and Girls Club of Pine Bluff. That organization is always working on their own literacy efforts, and this drive is right on time.
We're excited because this helps us provide a reward and a support to those kids who are growing in literacy. Being able to own a book, have a book, makes all the difference in the world.
Donation sites are spread across the 4 counties at prominent businesses, local libraries, where generosity often builds on itself.
All that excess allowed us to be able to partner with the local libraries as well. So last year we donated over 1,200 books to local libraries, and then another 1,000 to children directly that were coming to area events.
In all, recent drives have turned up almost 6,000 donated books, Yarnell among the authors. with his own self-published picture book and poems.
Floam the Gnome, if you will. My mother actually illustrated that one for me in 2011.
Between a rainbow-colored gnome and a bear in dress blues, it's almost enough for the organization to say, who needs Santa?
It's just a wonderful time to place emphasis on literacy.
Coming up after the break on your 11 on 11 weekend wrap-up, are the Arkansas Travelers leaving North Little Rock? We'll clear up the latest developments. Welcome back. Baseball is back in North Little Rock, but as the Travelers season begins, questions remain about the team's future in the city. City and team leaders are negotiating behind the scenes to determine whether the Travs will keep calling North Little Rock home. And THV 11's Maya Ellison shows us what both sides are saying.
We truly believe that Dickey-Stevens Park, Diamond Baseball, and the Travelers succeed the most if we are truly in a public-private partnership with you guys, rowing in the same direction.
That was Henry Shepard, head of mergers and acquisitions for Diamond Baseball Holdings, the parent company of the Arkansas Travelers. During an August 2025 City Council meeting, Shepard laid out the company's vision for a long-term partnership with North Little Rock.
Oh, they have great ideas, and we're happy to have them here. They are a part of Central Arkansas to so many people. Even non-baseball fans grew up going to the games with their families, so nobody wants them to leave.
The team has been a staple along the North Little Rock riverfront since 2007, after 44 years across the river. Ward 1 City Councilman Nathan Hamilton says the current lease, originally signed in 2007 and amended in 2014, is now in its final term, leaving the city and Diamond Baseball Holdings with a major decision ahead.
We need to understand what they need in order to succeed, and if the city of North Little Rock is in a position to be able to give that to them.
Now, property records show Dickey-Stevens Park is owned by the North Little Rock Public Building Authority and valued at more than $6 million. Hamilton says extending the lease will depend on negotiations between Mayor Terry Hartwick and Diamond Baseball Holdings.
He is the day-to-day operations guy for the city. I trust him. I have faith in the mayor.
A statement from Diamond Baseball Holdings CEO Peter Froon says it's, quote, committed to working with the city to keep the Travelers in North Little Rock for the long term and are actively in negotiations. City officials like Heather Coons with North Little Rock Tourism say the team plays a key role in the local economy.
Last year, they had an estimated economic impact of over $9 million, and so we really understand the value that they bring through our community.
Coons says that impact includes a 30% boost in revenue from events beyond baseball. She adds that the team is a key piece of North Little Rock's broader tourism strategy.
They are consistently providing that consistent, the consistent people, driving people in, consistent revenue for our restaurants. So they really bring their weight and their value to our community.
April is Autism Awareness Month, and there's no better time to share this next story. The hit Netflix show Love on the Spectrum released a new season last week, and one of the people who found love is from right here in the natural state. Tyler White was raised in Shirley, Arkansas, and diagnosed with autism at 3 years old. On the show, he gets engaged to Madison Marilla, who is also on the spectrum. And now that the news is out, Brooke got to chat with Tyler about this exciting new chapter.
Can you tell me a little bit about Madison?
The best thing that's ever happened to me, of course, we're on two different levels. She's more classic autism. I have Asperger's, but nothing we can not handle. I mean, we're able, I think because of our differences, we're able to help each other grow and overcome.
Their proposal is a tearjerker. As for the wedding planning, he says that they haven't started yet. White says that they're taking their time and living in the present. He also focused on getting his music career going and has a single coming out on May 15th. A Searcy man's life hasn't been the same after a tragic accident in 2024, but now he needs help returning to some sort of normalcy. THV 11's Carter Thweet talked with the man and his family about the road ahead.
It was supposed to be an ordinary trip.
We were on the Buffalo River swimming.
But on June 28th, 2024, Jeremy Hollingshead's life changed forever.
Last thing I remember was swimming, but he said that we were setting up on the side of the bed of the truck and we hit this big divot pothole and it just bounced me out backwards.
Jeremy landed on his head and neck. He's now a quadriplegic confined to a wheelchair. So now Hollingshead is here at the crossing at Riverside, an assisted living facility. And in order to go anywhere but here, he needs a little help.
We bought a handicap van, but since then it has had so many issues.
Or as the kids put it,
it was smoking and it was doing bad things. And it broke the belt of the car.
Melissa Smith, the mom of one of Jeremy's high school friends, noticed the struggle.
He was going to try to use it to go watch his son practice baseball, and his son was excited, but then when they got out there to the van, the belt broke on it, the main belt. And so he wasn't able to go, and his son was upset.
If the van breaks down, getting Jeremy out and safely picked up would be a real concern. So Melissa started a GoFundMe to help.
I would like to see him get just a little bit more, because after pricing some of the used vans, they're very, very expensive.
For Jeremy, a reliable van would mean the world.
Those kids just need their dad. They just want to be around dad, even if I just go sit at the park and watch them play, like you've seen me chasing my daughter around, you know, just little stuff like that, just to get out of here, to play with them and try to enjoy life with them as much as possible.
In Searcy, Carter Thweet, THV 11 News.
If you'd like to help, the link to that GoFundMe will be on our website, thv11.com. And still to come here on your 11 on 11 weekend wrap-up, we'll meet a local radio legend that's still rocking the airwaves. Welcome back. A 68-year-old man from Sheridan is sharing his story of survival after a terrifying incident. David Adamson says he fell nearly 25 feet into a well hidden inside his shed. THV 11's Maya Ellison gives us a closer look at how it all happened.
We got all the boxes out. She had a bunch of heavy stuff, and she just broke her hand, right hand, so I was coming in to move big stuff out.
Just some normal spring cleaning for David Adamson and his wife Rose. It's a task they've done for years to clean up around the shed. But last Sunday, the unexpected happened.
I stepped in here. I didn't know where the well was. I stepped right there. I was going to help her get some of this heavy stuff out. And she turned around and she said she seen me about here going underwater.
An instant 25-foot drop into freezing cold water.
I took everything I could, just dog paddle to get above water, kicking my feet and whatever, so I don't know how far I went underwater, but I never do touch bottom.
Adamson says he suffers from a medical condition that can leave him temporarily paralyzed. Thankfully, he didn't have an episode in the water. His focus was purely on survival.
I can't swim, and all I had to do is keep my head above water. My head had to be like this due to all the debris, because everything was getting in my face.
The only thing keeping him alive, a pole attached to an 100-year-old water pump.
But I was scared to pull on it too much because I didn't want to break it off a pump, or I didn't want to bring that pump down on my head that was just sitting there. That was a concern too.
Adamson says hypothermia began to set in, and when first responders arrived, they cut through the shed just to get to him.
Me and Lord had a long discussion. He just wasn't ready for me.
An hour later, Adamson was out of the well.
I'm lucky. The Sheridan Fire Department saved my life.
Now, a week later, and you never guess what Adamson's been through. But that doesn't change him. He lives to tell his story and to see another day.
Life is too short. I live for second to second because it's nothing for me to have 50 of these today.
In Sheridan, Maya Ellison, THV 11 News.
Thank you, Maya. Adamson says because of his incident, the Sheridan Fire Department ordered new equipment to help in similar rescues. He says they're also in the process of covering the well. Now to our newest story in our Red, White, and You series, where we highlight everyday Americans to celebrate our country's 250th birthday. This week, we're taking you to Beaker Street to meet an 80-year-old Arkansas radio legend. THV 11's Brooke Buckner stops into his world to find out why he's still on the air and how he's connecting people through music.
Hundreds of thousands of people travel down I-30 every day, passing through Saline County. Just outside the noise of the busy interstate, you'll find a man traveling via airwaves.
I'm Clyde Clifford, and this is Beaker Street on Arkansas Rocks.
Clyde Clifford is a disc jockey at Arkansas Rocks in Benton, a haven for music lovers and radio legends.
We describe ourselves as a bunch of old farts who love radio the way it ought to be done. And that's what we're doing.
Every Friday night, Clifford takes listeners on a musical journey down Beaker Street, a trip he says starts with a feeling.
It ought to be what the disc jockey feels is worth playing, what the disc jockey feels that the audience wants. And there's, if you're good at it, if you have a touch for it, you can feel what the audience wants without really having to have anybody call you and tell you, I want to hear that song.
The 80-year-old Little Rock native says it's almost like a sixth sense, a skill he developed early on in his career when he ditched the planning and started playing from the heart.
Most of the time when I walk in this control room, I don't even know what my first song's going to be.
Clifford and Beaker Street got their start at KAAY in Little Rock back in 1966. The young DJ worked overnight as an engineer, broadcasting from the noisy transmitter room. After a few decades and time at other stations, he hung up the headphones for good.
Well, in fact, this last Friday was 41 years since the last Beaker Street on KAAY. I was in the control room at Cottondale Lane in Little Rock thinking, well, this is the last one I'm going to do. This is going to be it.
Or so he thought.
You're listening to Arkansas Rocks.
Beaker Street is back.
They let me play whatever the heck I feel like.
The music he feels every Friday night from 8 until midnight, live.
I have to be in the middle of it. I have to be on the air doing it as it goes.
In real time.
In real time.
And his reach stretches beyond the natural state.
We get notes, emails, and so forth from all over the world.
As technology evolves and music changes, the one thing that remains constant.
I've just been me, and I think that's I think that's what makes it work. I think people understand that I'm just me, and what you see is what you get.
It's proof that a lot of passion, a little personality, and a good playlist are enough to make an encore worth it, no matter your age.
Streaming live at www.arkansasrocks.com.
Brooke Buckner, THV 11 News.
Well, Clifford recently surpassed 300 shows on Arkansas Rocks. You can stream Beaker Street every Friday night. We have a link right now on our website, thv11.com. And that's going to do it for our 11 on 11 weekend wrap up. I'm Ashley King. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week right here on THV 11 Plus.